I've been afraid of enclosed spaces since I got trapped in an elevator 8 years ago. Not the dramatic kind. No screaming, no free fall, just silence. 37 minutes between floors with the lights off, the air stale, and the realization that nobody could hear me breathing faster. Ever since then, doors closing feel like a mistake I can't undo. I avoid elevators when I can, but my office building doesn't let you. It's 42 stories tall, sleek, corporate, all glass and brushed metal. Somewhere along the way, they decided stairs were a liability. Fire exits stop at the 10th floor. Above that, the stairwells are sealed, alarmed, and locked from the inside. You take the elevator, or you don't work there. I'm on the 27th floor. Every morning, I stand too close to the doors so they don't close behind me too fast. I keep my hand hovering near the open button like it's a flotation device. I lean against the back wall, always the back wall. It feels safer when I can see the doors. The elevator rides are usually uneventful. Usually. But sometimes, not often enough to complain, not rare enough to ignore, the elevator stops. Not at a floor, between them. There's a soft thunk when it happens, like the building clearing its throat. The lights dim. The air changes. It feels smaller, like the walls shifted inward a fraction of an inch. The first time it happened, I pressed the emergency button so hard my thumb hurt. Nothing. Then the intercom crackled to life. A calm, neutral voice came through the speaker. "Please remain still." That was it. No reassurance, no explanation. Just remain still. After a few seconds, the lights came back on and the elevator continued like nothing happened. I told myself it was a glitch. The second time, the voice said something different. "Please do not lean on the doors." I froze. I wasn't leaning on the doors. I was leaning on the back wall. I didn't report it. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't want to be the person with elevator anxiety in a building full of people who treat fear like inefficiency. The third time was last week. Late. I stayed after hours to finish a report. By the time I got into the elevator, the building was nearly empty. The doors slid shut with that familiar airtight seal. The car descended, then stopped. Lights flickered once, twice. The hum of motion cut out, replaced by a silence so complete I could hear my own heartbeat echo in my ears. I pressed the emergency button. The intercom clicked on immediately. No static this time, just the voice. "Which wall are you leaning against?" My mouth went dry. I didn't answer. "I need you to answer," the voice continued calmly, "for weight distribution." That made no sense. Elevators don't need that kind of information. I'm standing," I said finally, my voice barely working. There was a pause, longer than before. Then, "You weren't standing when the doors closed." My knees threatened to buckle. "How do you know that?" I whispered. Another pause. Then the voice said something that made the space feel smaller. "We felt the pressure." The lights dimmed further. The walls creaked, not loudly, not dramatically, just enough to remind me they were there. Inches from my shoulders, inches from my chest. I pressed my back harder into the wall without thinking. Immediately, the voice returned. "Thank you," it said. Please don't move. The elevator didn't start again. The air felt thicker, warmer. I realized then that the voice wasn't asking for safety. It was asking for positioning. And the longer I stood there, pressed into the wall, the more certain I became of something I didn't want to think about. The elevator didn't need to know if I was inside. It already knew. It needed to know where I fit best. The lights flickered once more. The intercom clicked again, and the voice asked, gently this time, "Are you still touching the back wall?" The walls seemed closer than they had been a moment ago, and for the first time since that elevator 8 years ago, I felt the unmistakable certainty that this space was shrinking on purpose. I stayed exactly where I was, back pressed flat to the wall, arms stiff at my sides, breathing shallow, because every deep breath made the air feel more used. "Yes," I whispered, "I'm still touching it." The response was immediate. "Good. Please maintain contact." The lights dimmed another notch. Not darkness, just enough that the corners of the elevator softened, edges losing definition. The brushed metal walls no longer reflected cleanly. They absorbed light instead of bouncing it back. I swallowed. "Is someone coming? Maintenance? Security?" A pause. Then, "No assistance is required." The elevator gave a small, almost gentle shudder. Not mechanical failure, repositioning. The floor vibrated under my shoes, a low tremor that crawled up my calves and settled into my spine. I became acutely aware of every point where my body met the elevator. Heels, shoulders, the back of my head. Too aware. "You can relax your shoulders," the voice suggested. "Tension causes irregular pressure." I laughed, a short, broken sound. "You're telling me to relax," I said. "I'm trapped." Another pause. "You are not trapped. You are contained." My chest tightened. Contained meant intentional. I shifted my weight without thinking, just a fraction, enough to relieve the ache in my back. Immediately, the elevator responded. A soft groan ran through the walls, like metal bending under careful force. The space seemed to settle, closing a hair's breadth. The voice returned, no longer neutral. "Please return to your previous position." Panic surged. I pressed myself flat again, heart hammering. "I'm back," I said quickly. "I'm back." The groaning stopped. The silence afterward was suffocating. I could hear my breath echoing off the walls, bouncing back too fast, like there wasn't enough room for the sound to travel properly. "How long will this take?" I asked. The answer came slower this time. "It depends on you." I squeezed my eyes shut. "What are you doing?" I whispered. "We are calibrating," the voice said. "Every occupant is different." A faint clicking sound started above me. Not loud, not fast. Measured, methodical. Click, pause, click. Like something counting. The walls felt closer now. Not visibly, physically. The air pressed against my skin, warm and stale, carrying the faint smell of metal and ozone. I tried to take a deep breath and couldn't finish it. My ribs met resistance. "Airflow will normalize once you settle." "I am settled," I said, my voice cracking. "No," it replied calmly. "You are resisting." The elevator shifted again. This time I felt it in my shoulders. The back wall curved inward. Not enough to see, just enough that my spine adjusted without permission. My shirt scraped against the metal. I whimpered. "Please," I said, "I'll stand however you want. Just tell me." There was a long pause, long enough for my legs to start shaking. Then the voice said, "You're doing very well. Most people panic sooner." That broke something in me. "Most people?" I gasped. "What do you mean, most?" The clicking stopped. The lights flickered, and for the first time, the voice sounded close. Not from the speaker, from the walls themselves. "This elevator serves many floors," it said. "Not everyone fits the same way." The floor creaked softly. I felt a subtle pressure against my left shoulder now, like the wall was testing how much give there was. I tried to pull away. There was nowhere to pull to. "Please stop moving," the voice warned. "I can't breathe," I sobbed. "You can," it said. "You're just not used to how little space you actually need." The walls pressed in another fraction, enough that my elbows brushed metal on both sides, enough that my chest stayed half expanded, caught between breaths. The intercom clicked again. One last question, asked gently, almost kindly. "Would you prefer the left wall or the right?" I realized then that the elevator wasn't broken. It wasn't malfunctioning. It was choosing. And whatever answer I gave, the space would close around it. "I don't have a preference," I whispered. My voice felt too loud in the small space, like it might scrape against the walls and make them move again. Another pause, longer than the others. "That's unusual," the voice said. "Most occupants do." The clicking resumed, faster now. Click, click, click. I could feel it in my teeth. "I'm touching the back wall," I said quickly. "Still the back wall, please." The elevator hummed softly, almost pleased. "Confirmed. Maintain contact." The back wall warmed. Not heat, body warmth, like metal that had been holding on to someone else's temperature and was now giving it back to me. My skin crawled. I tried to shift my feet to get some circulation back, but the floor resisted. Not slipping, not gripping, just firm, like it didn't want me to change my stance. The pressure at my shoulders increased, just enough to remind me they were there. I swallowed hard. "How long have I been here?" I asked. 8 minutes, the voice said. That couldn't be right. My phone was still in my pocket. I tried to reach for it, but the movement scraped my elbow against the sidewall. Immediately, the space responded. A low, complaining sound rippled through the car, and the sidewall pressed inward a fraction of an inch. My arm was pinned. I screamed. The sound felt wrong, too loud, too immediate, like it had nowhere to go. It bounced back into me, rattling my chest. "Please do not attempt unnecessary movement," the voice said calmly. "It complicates the fit." "The fit?" I gasped. "Yes." The clicking stopped. Something inside the walls shifted. Not sliding, not grinding, folding. The elevator felt shallower. The ceiling lowered just enough that my hair brushed it when I straightened my neck. I whimpered and ducked instinctively. Good, the voice said. You're learning. Tears blurred my vision. I don't belong here, I said. Let me out. I'll take another elevator. I'll take the stairs. I'll never... There are no stairs, the voice interrupted gently. Above 10. The walls pressed in again. This time, my chest touched the back wall fully. My breath hit metal and came back warm and damp. I couldn't fully inhale anymore. Each breath ended early, clipped by pressure. Air circulation has been adjusted. Efficient use only. I tried counting my breaths. 1, 2, 3. My ribs wouldn't expand past a certain point. Panic exploded in my chest, but there was nowhere for it to go. The elevator didn't shake anymore, didn't flicker. It felt stable, finished. The voice returned, softer now, almost conversational. You use more space when you're afraid, it said, but you don't need to. I shook my head, tears running into my ears. I do, I whispered. I need space. The wall behind me curved again. My spine adjusted to it like it had been designed that way. You really don't. Look how much space we've already taken. My arms were pinned at my sides now. My knees were bent slightly, not by choice, but by necessity. I couldn't tell where my body ended and the elevator began. Why are you doing this? I sobbed. Another pause. Then the most terrifying thing yet. Because tomorrow, the voice said, you'll enter much more easily. The lights dimmed until the elevator was lit only by a dull glow, close and intimate and wrong. And the next time, it continued, we won't have to ask which wall you prefer. The pressure eased slightly, just enough to let me breathe again. The elevator lurched, started moving. Floors passed. When the doors finally slid open, I collapsed forward onto the carpet of the lobby, gasping like I'd been underwater too long. People stared. Someone asked if I was okay. I didn't answer, because as the doors closed behind me, I saw it. The interior of the elevator wasn't empty. The walls were curved inward now, set, waiting, like it remembered me, like it had learned my shape. I didn't take the elevator the next day. I stood in the lobby for nearly 20 minutes pretending to check emails, watching people step in and out of the cars like nothing was wrong, laughing, scrolling, standing wherever they wanted. They didn't hesitate. That made it worse. Eventually, my phone buzzed with a message from my supervisor asking why I was late, and fear lost to routine the way it always does. I stepped inside. The doors closed faster than I remembered. Too smoothly, too confidently. I was alone. The interior looked the same at first glance. Stainless steel walls, mirrored panels, faint hum of machinery. But something was different. The space felt closer. Not visibly smaller, familiar smaller. Like stepping into a jacket that had already been broken in by someone else. By me. I stayed near the back wall out of habit. The elevator didn't stop between floors this time. The lights didn't flicker. The intercom didn't crackle. Instead, The voice spoke immediately. "Welcome back." My throat closed. "You don't need to lean," it continued. "We accounted for that." The back wall curved inward just enough to meet my spine. I hadn't pressed into it. It pressed into me. Panic surged, sharp and blinding, but the walls held me in place, gentle, firm, inevitable. "We refined your profile," the voice said calmly. Shoulders relaxed, chin slightly down, breathing shallow. I tried to scream. The sound came out wrong, thin, compressed, swallowed by the space before it could echo. The air was warm again. "Used. How?" I gasped. "How do you know?" The elevator slowed, stopped. Not at a floor, between them. "Because you showed us," the voice replied. "Last time." The ceiling lowered, just a fraction, enough that I had to bend my neck, enough that my body adjusted before my mind caught up. I felt the walls pressing against my arms, my ribs, my thighs. Not crushing, not violent, accommodating. "You don't struggle as much now. That's good." My breaths came short and sharp, each one scraping against the limit of what the space allowed. "I can't," I whispered. "I can't fit." "Yes," it said gently, "you can." The walls tightened again, not all at once, section by section, testing, learning. The metal against my chest flexed inward until my breath hit it and bounced back. My knees bent further, my heels lifted slightly off the floor, not by force, but because there was nowhere else for my body to go. I started crying, silent, shaking sobs I didn't have room to express. "You're almost perfect," the voice said. The lights dimmed until there was barely any contrast, just me and the walls and the feeling of being held from every direction. I thought about that first elevator 8 years ago, the panic, the waiting, the relief when the doors finally opened. This wasn't that. This wasn't an accident. This was practice. The voice asked one final question. "Are you still touching the back wall?" I couldn't tell anymore. Every wall felt like the back wall. "Yes," I whispered. "Good. Then we're finished adjusting." The pressure eased just a little, enough to breathe, enough to survive. The elevator started moving again. When the doors opened on the 27th floor, I didn't fall out this time. I stepped out, carefully, like I didn't want to offend it. No one noticed anything wrong. No one ever does. But now, every time I step into an elevator, any elevator, I feel it. That subtle suggestion, that expectation, the way the walls seem to wait for me to stand exactly where I stood before. And sometimes when the doors close and the space feels just a bit too tight, I swear I hear it smile and think, "Still fits."